Welcome to tonight's Arundecoyt Planning Board meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Welcome to tonight's Planning Board meeting. Please be aware of the fire exit, which is to the left of this room. In the event of an emergency, please move in a calm and orderly fashion down the stairs and do not use the elevator. The meetings are recorded by the secretary for the purpose of a record and minutes, so please identify yourself each time you come to the podium and speak into the microphone. The board will follow the items in the order they appear on the agenda. Possibly. I'll get back to that. Extra copies of the agenda are near the door. After the case has been called, the applicant and/or representative shall come to the podium, identify him or herself, give his or her address, and then present their case. The planning board members will then have an opportunity to question the applicant. If the case is a public hearing, it will be open for public input, at which time anyone wishing to speak to the board, and once again, that's speaking to the board, please make sure all questions are directed to the board regarding this application, will come to the podium, identify themselves along with their address, and direct any questions once again to the board. Once all public input has been completed and the applicant or site representative will be given the opportunity to respond to any public input. Once all public input has been completed and all questions have been satisfied, the case will be closed to the public input and the board will then move on to a decision. No further input is allowed at this point. So regarding the agenda, are we going to stay with the agenda as is, or?
I'm going to double check with the applicant that was on for the tabled item to see if all parties are here.
Okay.
If you'll bear with me for 1 minute, I'll double check that.
Sure. I'll get back to it. Give us 1 second. So what I'd like to propose to the board, if they're in agreement, is I'd like to take a look at the table item and doing that one first, only because this is not tonight a public hearing. And therefore, I'd like to understand what they're going to present tonight, just for the folks in the audience so that they understand that. So if the board is in concurrence with that, I'd like to.
You'd like to make a motion to suspend the agenda and to pick up the tabled item?
Correct, so I would need a motion to that regard. So I'll make that motion that we suspend the agenda and we take off the table case number PB 1911-2.
Just as a clarification, you just need to make there's no requirement that you follow the agenda. That's protocol, but you would just indicate that the motion is actually just to remove the item, the tabled item from the board, pick up the tabled item.
Right, so I made that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 No opposed, and we have 2 abstains, I believe, tonight, correct? We have 2 absent tonight? Okay.
So tabled item is case number PB 1911-2. Upon the matter of request by Land Tech Planning and Surveying, acting as agent for Craig Restuccia for revised site plan approval to construct a new single-family dwelling on premises 301 Lakefront in an R1 residential district.
Mr. Schraber, before you start, as you're getting ready, tonight when you talk to all the plans, when you speak to the plans and if you mention one of the easements, will you please make sure you call out the Beatree easement, the sidewalk easement, or the Washington Street extension, public or private, just to make sure there's clarity on which easement we're talking about.
No problem.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Sharaba, representing Craig Restuccia this evening. Craig is here, can answer any questions that I cannot. I know the board is very familiar with this plan. We've talked on it detailed numerous times. The plan that we're presenting before you is a culmination of the efforts that we had at the last workshop. The basics of this plan is the house is set 10 foot north adjacent to the cross sidewalk easement that bisects the property going east and west. In doing that, we've got permission from the DPW director to reroute that easement by giving the town a new easement along the right-of-way of the road and also adjacent to the storm sewer easement that exists on the west property line. As we said numerous times, our goal with this home is for Craig to build one single-family home on this lot. We are not trying to take away any of the rights that people may have to access the beach through their deeded rights or the rights of the public right-of-way of Washington Avenue that extends through this property. The plan from the workshop that you asked to have a digital representation, not an artisan rendering of the proposed house. That's what I passed out to you this evening. Again, that house that we talked about might not be the same color that Craig wants to do, but that's really the perception that you're going to see from across the street, along the road, and gives you a good sense of scale of what's happening there. So as you can see, it's kind of a park-like setting with a small residential structure put on it. So if you look from the road, that's what it's going to look like. It's 105 feet off the right-of-way. It's downslope, so it's fairly unobtrusive. And so that's what we really want to do here. As I mentioned, you said about the sidewalk easement is to be rerouted. That's the biggest factor that we thought that we could achieve these goals. I know there was other comments from the public and the board about drainage and things like this. This is a 1.78 acre lot. It's well drained. Everything drains to the lake and to the beachfront. We do have other restrictions of development besides easements. We also have a floodplain, a structural hazard zone, and and this plan meets all the zoning requirements for a single-family development. So that's a quick overview of what we've discussed in the past, and I'll take any questions you have.
Any members? Go ahead,
Sure.
Mr.
Can you just back up? I think one of the very first things you said was something, thanks, John. Something to the effect of 10 feet from the easement or 10 feet north. Can you just clarify that
Yeah,
again?
so this is the
Which
east-west easement that we recall, generally parallel with the poles that are there today.
So we're talking about the sidewalk easement.
This is the existing, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And so we are north and adjacent of that where the house was since basically inception. We moved it ahead north way back in a meeting in October.
Okay.
But it's been there for about the last month and a half.
Okay, so the 102.8 feet dimension that's on the plan is accurate.
105.8, yeah, because you probably have a
I
smaller.
must have a slightly older one. Okay, so that's 105. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. My other question is regarding your digital representations. Do we have eave and peak heights for the roof?
Well, the peak height that we're going with is the 27 feet, so I do not have the eave height, but Craig, you might be able to speak to that.
Well, the house is, it's either it's gonna be.
We're going to need you to use the
Sorry, the mic.
microphone.
Thank you.
Well, the house will either be 32 foot in depth or 34 foot. The drawing shows 34 foot. So if you went with a 12-12 pitch, you know, if it's 32 feet and you had a 8-foot high ceiling, this is on a slab, right at grade, right? And then you went 12-12 pitch. The peak to the top, very peak would be 16. So 16 plus 8 plus a foot for the rafters would be a 9. It would be what, 26 feet? Mm-hmm. Approximately from grade to the very highest
What
point.
is it to the eave?
Well, to the eve would be 9 feet. Yeah.
And just as a point of clarification, just remembering for the board and for audience members and those watching at home that the building height is actually measured to the midpoint of the roof line.
Understood.
So when we're talking about peak heights, it's the midline.
Totally understand.
I just like
Looking
for
at the-
folks who are in the audience or viewing at home, they understand it.
Thinking visual impact, so.
Yeah,
thinking
thank
a little
you.
different on this one. Thanks. Okay, I'm all set for right now, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Richards?
Is there any excavation work that's going on the building site itself? Are we raising or lowering anything from the current condition?
To answer your question, yes. The first floor of the existing house is going to be about a foot lower than grade. So the elevation of the first floor is 257,
Okay.
but the grade at that house location at the center of the house is 258. Then we also have to transition just a general slope down to the north. So there is about a 4-foot grade change indicated by these solid lines. So the only earthwork that we're proposing is in this area. So that's more of a fill to make a nice slope for the yard.
Okay. I'm currently set at the moment.
I just have one question. There's, in the pictures you gave us, there's currently, blocking the land from the street. There's a, I forgot what you call it. Guardrail, thank you. What are is that gonna remain in place?
Actually, that's been removed. If you think back to some of the conversations we had, Washington Street Extension and all that road has been.
I was gonna say, it wasn't there when I went by, so.
Yeah, and I thought it'd be better to have a summer picture than a winter picture. So, that's a historic picture from probably early last year, before the guardrail was removed.
And that's not gonna be put back up to your knowledge?
No, there is gonna be, with conversations with Bob Kiley, there is gonna be some kind of, something to protect the public if that sidewalk goes there. So there'll be something in place,
Okay,
but not an ugly guardrail like that.
that's all I had. Solomon?
When we talked at workshop, we kind of talked about three options. I thought one of them was keeping the easement where it is, and the downside of that being how closely adjacent it is to the proposed structure. Moving the easement out to the street and having those people who are walking on the easement go in a new easement, which would take them out to the street, down a sidewalk, and then back up to the existing sidewalk easements. And then I saw that those came back as options that you had spoken about with DPW, but I was wondering about the third option, which was rerouting the easement to the north of the house to maintain the view. And was wondering where conversations went with that.
Well, a lot of that was based on some of my clients' feelings of the easement itself. So if you're traveling down the sidewalk, let's say going from west to east, you could come into this easement area, which is 150 feet wide, work yourself up to the lake, and then you could cross over generally in anywhere in this area, because this Washington Street extension goes here. So we don't want to have an easement right in front of his home right here, but they're welcome to walk up where they can legally. And he does not want to stop them from that, but we really didn't want to create another easement within 50 feet of the back of his house. So
That would create a opportunity to shift the house down slightly, would it not?
it would if.
Because the reason that the house is where it is now is by and large because of the placement of the sidewalk easement. So if the sidewalk easement were to be rerouted to the north, you could then slide it back a little bit to give more buffer to that sidewalk easement and maintain the view for the entire length of the easement. I think that I read that the other option of moving the easement down to the sidewalk, that you were going to shift the placement of the house slightly with that proposal as well.
You're correct in both your statements. One is that there is a factor of the utility poles that would have to be moved as well. So we're kind of, if the easement gets shifted down here, I think Mr. Restuccia is willing to move the poles as well, to move all this. I don't know if he really likes moving the easement up here and taking the poles out.
And taking the poles.
Because if you remember, he is going to put all this sidewalk in per town code at his cost. So it's going to be dedicated back to the town. I don't know if the DPW director would even want a sidewalk up in this area.
Is that the only area where the sidewalk easement is lit, or is it lit everywhere else besides there?
I'm not familiar. I can't answer that question.
Okay. And what is the total, I guess I would call it, I think it's the width of the house, right? So,
It's-
yeah, that length.
That's 52 feet.
Okay. And how many square feet is the house, including the garage?
House between just under 1,700 square feet.
That's with the garage?
That's not with the garage, three-car garage. The house itself, living space is under 1,700 square feet.
Ask the question.
So how much is it with the 3-car garage?
I don't really know, whatever the three-car garage would be. You know, it's not final design, but it's a three-car garage.
And the 1,700 square foot house would fit compliant with the code to the south of the sidewalk easement, is that correct?
No, I don't believe so.
Without the garage?
Well, I need a three-car garage.
The garage is 1,260 square feet as proposed.
So almost the same size as the house?
Yeah, but if you look at the way this house is oriented from the view of the road, you almost don't even notice that there's a garage there.
And the reason for that was.
You need the microphone. You need the microphone.
You're gonna need the
Excuse
microphone.
me, yeah, the microphone's important. Thank you.
And the reason for that was not to block the view.
Right.
This is really,
I do understand the
if you
orientation of
take
the
that size
garage,
lot,
yeah.
I'm really feel like I'm the caretaker of a park, and this is the park caretaker's house. I mean, typically for that neighborhood, 9 houses between, if you go from point to 2 houses, right, there's over 435 square feet or lineal feet, which is about 9 houses of the average neighborhood. So I've really shrunk this down and put that to make it look like a park setting.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're trying to say with why you put the garage where you put the garage. I'm just really wondering about if I think the best case solution here is to move the easement to the north of the house, because that's a win for everyone all the way around. But I'm just wondering how far that got pursued in talks with DPW.
Not sure if you guys heard that last question. Did you?
Was it proposed, was it asked to DPW if they would be willing to move the easement to the north of the house?
Never proposed to do that with.
You know, I don't want to send people all the way down to the beach and then back up. I'm just saying, the same idea that you're doing with shifting people to the street, just flip-flop it so that they can maintain the view of the water the whole way around and the house can exist. It seems like everyone
We can
gets what
explore
they're
that
looking
thought
for.
Process. How far north of the house would you want the easement?
Well, that's up to you, I suppose. I mean, you could have it as close or as far away as that you want it. It depends on how you want to shift the house. I think that the thing that I'm trying to consider is the protection of the views from that easement. And it seems like it could be protected if you would consider shifting the easement to the north of the house.
Yeah, I know I'm technical in nature by my education and my profession. So I'm looking for a harder number: 50 feet, 100 feet, 12 feet. Can I put it out here at the flood zone limit? I mean,
No. I think
right here.
it's got to be up on my understanding of that area is it sort of looks over, right? It's elevated slightly from the water. So I wouldn't want to send people down to the beach, go down to the beach, then come back up from the beach either. But if the path made a similar movement to what you're proposing here with the sending them to the street, but instead send them towards the water, move the house, then you can move the house wherever up and down. You have a lot of leeway there because now that easement has been moved, it grants a lot of flexibility to you.
Yeah, I see your point. I understand where you're going, and I think you and I have had conversations about that. But I mean, if we move this easement, the town, I think a lot of the neighbors have said, who's supposed to maintain the sidewalk? Whose is it? I've heard all those questions at the public hearing. I don't think the DPW director is going to want to maintain anything up here.
I'm
So
not
it's gonna
necessarily.
stay as a natural grass, whatever it is, easement.
That would be my suggestion. If the easement were to move to the north, then I wouldn't expect you to put in any type of sidewalk or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just maintain existing conditions. It's just that they are to the north, a grass path, whatever it is, and it is. Not necessarily building infrastructure as you're proposing, kindly to do in the other direction. It's just that I feel like the most important thing here is the view, and that's why people use that walking track. And my understanding is that if that sidewalk were to be built on the south side, it doesn't necessarily connect, aside from on either end to the easement, the new easement. It doesn't connect to the sidewalk on St. Paul, or
Yeah, there's sidewalk.
does it? Okay, because,
Sidewalk on Washington.
but will that sidewalk connect to the existing sidewalk on St. Paul Boulevard?
Can. If that, so, we're talking another 50 feet of sidewalk. I think, we haven't talked to, we have to go to someone else and get an easement and do things like that. I only showed what we can control in our plan.
Right.
But, I mean, if that's a point of conversation, that connection, I'm not gonna speak for the public, but I just, I think that walking by this for 52 feet of a house, is really not that instructive. I think if you walk here, or you walk here, I think more people, but I can't defend that because I don't live down here, but I think people are gonna walk, they love the sidewalk, that they can safely navigate this road. And I think they would like to go up here on some kind of hard surface.
Excuse me, I'm going to ask members of the audience to refrain from commenting. It makes it very challenging for the folks recording this meeting to not pick up the noise, so I thank you for that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I understand your perspective. I think based on what I heard at the last public comment period, and considering the views that we're supposed to be looking after, that the best solution would be to move the easement and move it to the north of the house to maintain the view of the water. And I was just wondering how far, it sounds like that idea did not get raised with DPW, so we don't know if they would be amicable to that or not.
You're correct.
Is there any other questions?
I just have a couple other questions. We have not seen a full plan now. What I'm asking is, are we moving the light fixture, the light poles?
So, not at this time. So the plan that you saw at the workshop is the same plan that is here tonight. We haven't changed anything. What we really
Okay,
done
so,
is-
so at the suggestion, when we talked about even moving the sidewalk to the south portion of the property and moving the house down between 10 and 20 feet, that's no longer
Well, the
tonight's.
sidewalk was reflected at the workshop.
Here's my question though for you, John. That's not reflected in what you're asking us to do tonight.
The sidewalk question?
No, moving the house 10 to 20 feet to the south. Is that,
It has not been, because we wanted to show, because we also have another obstacle, which is the RG&E easement. So we have one easement that
Right.
we're dealing with here tonight of what people in the neighborhood have, or the town has, and we have the other one, so we have not moved it to be affected by the poles. But if it was a stipulation of approval that we had to move the poles, I guess what we're saying is, if you approve the location of the sidewalk down here and modifying that, then I think Mr. Restucci would probably go ahead and want to move those poles, get rid of those poles as well. If you look at the plans we presented you, the photos, I mean, the poles are almost more obstructive than anything else on the site.
that's why I'm
Also,
asking
yeah,
my question.
We would like to remove the poles, but if we don't have the easement moved,
It's also giving me the impression that the easement remains along with the poles because that line actually travels further east and west as I look along the easement, and that's where that RG&E poles seem to have aligned themselves.
so you are correct, the poles are existing and there is an easement that they're within, but RG&E has, said if we, at our cost, move those poles, they'll modify their easement. So there is a dollar figure that he's looking at to move those poles.
Okay,
So it's
So-
all kind of hinged, chicken or the egg.
so tonight all you've asked us to do is take a look at the December 12th memo between the town and you regarding the easement, right?
I guess I thought my direction was to give more of a, instead of a drawing or.
Or December 6th, I'm
Artistic
sorry.
rendition, you wanted to see how this house was gonna be looking on it, as an architect would draw it, to scale, and how it would look up here, out there, and that's kinda what we did. So my focus was getting you something that you could see, to say, oh, really, it doesn't look that bad, or you hate it. That's really where we were kinda looking here, what I provided you. A slight movement of 10 feet, if you made it a contingency of approval, we have no problem sliding that house back. But I don't understand which way to go. We don't want to get tied into a contingency if we have to put a sidewalk up here, and now we have to move the poles, and now we have to slide the house back.
Yeah, I mean, if you're taking temperature here, I mean, I like what you've offered us tonight.
Yeah.
I like it. It ties in with the sidewalks around. I can cross the street, go up Washington. There's a sidewalk on the other side there. I'm not adverse to any of that. I'm just not sure that I loving the placement of the house at the moment, but if that's not what we're being asked to look at tonight, I'm fine with not looking at it tonight.
Excuse me.
Yep.
So I believe the first meeting we had, the house was really close to where let's just say the poles, right? And then we moved it back, I think, after for like 10 feet. And then I think the last meeting, I'm kind of on your page where you said we would move the sidewalk, south, and then also move the houses forward at least 10 feet or just enough so it would just so it wouldn't hit the poles, right? But I am looking at the RG&E, talking with them and moving the poles, which then I would move another 10 or 15 feet again, it's just so, I mean, I really, I
Yeah,
get what everybody's saying, about.
I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time.
Oh,
I just
I
want to
agree with
get
you.
an
I know what
answer
you're
on to what the neighbors are going to be looking at.
Yeah.
And so far, I think we have an idea of what the easement agreement is being looked at for the town. Do we need an MOU for this to allow approval? And I guess that's a staff question. An MOU for the easement change, is that something that we need to consider, or it just happens?
So for the easement change with respect to the easement to the town,
Yes.
that's something that only the Commissioner of Public Works, so now you're looking at plans as presented, it's with the understanding that the easement will be relocated.
So us approving anything would be conditioned on an agreement being reached.
It would actually be on the condition that a new easement is prepared and entered into with the town.
Right. That's what I
Right, so that if for some reason that easement process could not be navigated, then they'd be back before the board to talk about
approval
another
would not happen.
option, correct?
Great. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else have any other questions?
During construction of this, I asked last time how we would make sure that once the easement is moved, or if it's moved, how
Which easement?
access, thank you, sidewalk easement, how access would be maintained during the construction of the property.
So if the easement is moved down to here and the sidewalk is going to be granted, we would bring in orange construction fence and block off this area, probably put a temporary stone base for people to walk on. During construction, we don't want to build a brand new sidewalk and have it driven over by cement trucks and other vehicles. So it'd probably be a stone base. And then if the boards seem fit, that maybe have a contingency of approval that the sidewalk has to be built before the C of O, we're comfortable with that. Give you guys some strength and teeth on your approval. But that's really what we want to do. Get people, if this is an active construction site, we don't want people to be, in danger. We'd also probably screen it other ways with areas with construction fence as well.
Any other questions from the board?
I have just one more question. Back on the roof slopes and the size of the house and so on. Have any other roof slopes or heights been looked at or considered?
Either an 812 or 1012, which would be lower than that. I'm just taking the worst
Yeah.
case scenario. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So, the way I see this is there's been enough of a change that I believe that we need to, I'd like to entertain a motion that we would move this. Would it be a motion to move it to the next meeting, or we
We'd
don't
have to
table it
reopen.
again?
Technically, you'd be asking for a motion or making a motion to reopen the public hearing and set it for the next meeting, which is our January 27th is the meeting date. And just to maybe not have to fact check my my calendar abilities, you can just indicate that to reopen the public hearing for the January the public hearing.
And the reason being is I believe there's been enough changes discussed that it would only be fair for the board to relook at this, as well as the public have a chance to relook at the changes and then comment on them. That's what I'd like to see a motion made.
I'd like to make that motion for you, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those, well, just for clarity, so the motion is to, move the public hearing to next January's meeting, correct?
I think technically you say to reopen the public hearing
Reopen the public
for the
hearing
January planning board meeting.
for the January planning board meeting. And then we also have another workshop prior to that where, Mr. Schraub, if possible, there was some questions asked about looking at alternatives and so forth, if we can get those clarified at the workshop also.
Probably do want to ask a couple questions before we close on us, but could I work with Carrie and confirm that date? Mr. Restuccia might not be here on the 27th. We're not only having one meeting in January, or is this right? The other one's a
Well,
workshop?
the public hearing meeting is always typically and I'll double check.
January 27th.
Yeah, it is confirmed for January 27th. That's the night of the public hearing.
I don't think I'm gonna be around myself that, so we might have to, might have to go to February.
Do you want to, do you want to set it for February? So we'll have the public hearing will be reopened for an upcoming meeting date to be determined. Is that okay?
Calendar.
And it's going to be, either way, it's going to be advertised as a public hearing the way as if it were a brand new application, even though it's not a continuation of an application. So it'll appear it'll be
So we'll move that,
advertised.
Working with staff beyond the January meeting, that we will be setting a public hearing.
Yeah,
on
reopening
this
the public
case.
hearing, yeah.
And just I don't know if I can. I mean, one of the things I'm really interested in hearing is out of the options that we have on the table, which of those options the residents are most supportive of. You know, it sounds like the three options that we have are moving the easement to the street, leaving the easement where it is, or moving the easement possibly, if DPW will agree to it, to the north side of the home along the water. Those seem to be the three things that are on the table. I would be.
I don't know that that's part of the motion. So the motion at this point is just
Oh,
related
yeah.
to the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want that part of the motion. I'm not sure that we're all on the same page on that.
That's just what I would like to hear.
And,
So,
but what I'd like to do is to clarify the motion to say that we are adjourning, PB 1911-2 until a future date beyond the January 2020 meeting that is worked out with, agreeable between staff and the applicant.
all those in favor?
Second it.
Oh, second. please.
Second.
There we go.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And 2 absent. One thing so depending on when we do the workshop or whichever workshop, if you could please address all of those questions.
Yes, I can to the best of my ability. I think some of the options that are something my client really doesn't want to do, I would like to present 2 that he wants to do, and maybe we're going to kind of have to force our hand here at some point. The one thing I do want to clarify is if the plan really is unchanged, but I can slide this house so that you have a clear understanding of that. It probably may be in the RG&E easement if we do so, because we're fine with doing that. We were going to ask tonight for a contingency if you wanted us to slide the house 15 feet. We were fine with that for a contingent approval, because there's really only 1 foot of grade change through this whole area. So, but I look forward to working with you at the workshop, and have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for clarity, before we start the next motion, if anybody's going to leave, now's be a good time. Or if you're going to have conversations, please move out to the hallway. Otherwise, we're going to continue on with the meeting.
That would be up to the applicant.
we can,
You can
the
actually
information.
contact the town. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I will say that the plans that have been submitted will be available in the Planning and Zoning Office. You can also email the planning board at arundequoit.org. That information's available on the website. So if you can't remember, so you can request the images to be sent via email. Staff would be happy to do that. You're welcome, thank you.
Give us a couple seconds for everybody to leave. Please move into the hallway. If you guys are having conversations, please move into the hallway. Thank you. Once again, if you're staying for the next meeting, please stay. Otherwise, if you're having conversations, please move into the hallway. I'm sorry? I tried. Okay, thank you.
Next case on the agenda is case number PB 1912-1. Upon the matter of request by Bergman Associates acting as agent for Rochester Management, Inc. for preliminary final site plan subdivision approval, steep slope and woodlot environmental protection overlay district permit approval to construct a new 3-story, 80-unit multifamily senior housing complex with site-related improvements on premises 2590 and 2662 Culver Road in an R5 residential district.
Thank you for allowing us to change the agenda.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Andy Hart with Bergman, and we're here representing the applicant, RMI Rochester Management, in their request for a site plan approval and subdivision approval to construct an 82,000 square foot, 3-story building for senior housing located at 2590 and 2662 Culver Road. Here with me tonight is the architect, Jessica Wade from SWBR, and Peggy Hill from Rochester Management. They're here to answer any questions you have. So just a little bit of history. The town board, at their November 19th meeting, approved the rezone of 6.7 acres of land. It's basically the eastern 6.7 acres of land on the Wambach parcel, and rezoned it from R1 to R5 for this project. The project does require 2 variances as the site plan sits today. And it needs one for building height to allow 39 feet where 30 feet is the max, and also one to reduce parking from 160 spaces down to 68. RMI, we have submitted those area variance applications, and we're going to appear in front of the zoning board on January 6th. We did meet with the planning board at their work session on December 9th and received many comments on the design of the building and the site. We began working on making changes to the site plan and the buildings, and we submitted the revised plans last Thursday. There's still some outstanding comments we still have to address from the fire department and from Labella, but I think we've addressed the majority of the comments from our work session we had last week, 2 weeks ago. So behind me is the rendering, just you can use as a reference, but access to the site that we're proposing will come from Culver Road along the southern portion of the property, extending through Wambach's property. We've provided the access to Culver Road as kind of a response to the town and their concerns with using the residential neighborhood as access point. So we wanted to eliminate that access point and have it off Culver Road, hopefully eliminating any traffic issues on the neighboring streets. We will need to modify our subdivision plan to accommodate that new access road. We haven't done it yet, but our plan would be to have RMI purchase that land from Wambach that we would use for access. So we will have to supply you with a revised subdivision plan in the coming days. So the proposed project, we have provided pedestrian.
Can I interrupt you for just 1/2 a second?
Absolutely.
Carrie, can you go ask them to keep it down again? I'm having a hard time over here.
I will go out now.
Thank you.
Just hold 1 second.
Okay. No problem. Yeah, it's tough. Sorry, trying to speak into the microphone.
You can actually shut those doors too, I believe. Oh, we can't?
You can't.
It's an open meeting.
I tried.
Makes sense.
Can we
does
take a
make
motion
sense.
to close? Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Two
No
delays tonight, sorry about that.
No problem at all. We have provided pedestrian access via sidewalks out to Culver Road as well, and to Hulda Park and Carlsdam Drive as well. There's a walking path that actually surrounds the site and connects the first floor patio homes, or the first floor units, their patios, to a connection to a sidewalk that goes all the way around the site. So we do have quite a bit of outdoor pedestrian access. There's also an outdoor gathering space just north of the building outside of the community room, so it makes for a really pedestrian-friendly site. The main entrance to the facility is located in the middle of the building and is adjacent to that entry circle when you first enter the site. It's for pickup and drop-off of any residents that live there. The building has been located on the site to take into account the steep slopes that exist to the north towards Route 104, a large Monroe County pure water interceptor easement that's to the east of us, and then the existing sanitary sewer that the town owns to the west of us. So we've kind of placed that building the best we can given those three constraints. We've pushed it as far north as we can. Parking's provided on the site in 3 smaller lots to kind of break up the asphalt and provide more green space within them. We have provided parking for 68 vehicles as mentioned before, and it does require a variance. The town requires 2 parking spaces per unit, so that would be 160 spaces. Fire access for the site. Per code, we're required to provide fire access around the building. We've provided what we call a grassed paver roadway around the western edge and a little bit of the eastern edge, and that grass paver would be for the trucks, the fire trucks, to be able to have access to any point of the building within 150 feet and still have lawn not be paved. So we're going to be proposing some kind of paver system for that. Also, as requested from the fire department, we are providing temporary emergency access from Carl Sam Drive. That would only be in the case of an emergency. There'll be a gate there that'll have a Knox box that the fire department can use to unlock the gate, and the fire truck can enter from the eastern edge of the site. Utilities are available on site or adjacent to it. Like I said before, the sanitary sewers to our west. Water will come from Carl Sam Drive, as well as electric and gas from that eastern edge. Stormwater mitigation has been designed to meet the New York State DEC guidelines. A stormwater bioretention area will be built on the southern portion of the property, surface draining the parking and some of the drive aisles. That bioretention area will actually drain into a pond that's on the eastern edge eventually, or storm pond, using underground piping. Lighting on the site will be 22-foot tall LED lights with a max 4,000 Kelvin fixture. There will be bollard lighting that's along the front of the building, and there'll also be some low-lying light levels, light fixtures along the pathway along the building as well. Landscaping. The landscaping plan is very extensive landscaping. Foundation plantings along the building and along the patios along the first floor, as well as shade trees along the parking lot and in the parking lot to help soften the parking lot. An existing mature vegetation will remain on the south portion of the site as much as possible to help with views from the residents. At our work session 2 weeks ago, the board asked us to have a traffic study done. We did hire SRF Associates to perform that traffic analysis. They contacted Monroe County DOT to get the scope for that study, and we've provided that as part of our application material Thursday. They did compare the traffic for Wambach's garden, I guess you call it a garden center facility. They didn't have actual counts, historic counts, which we did ask the county for, but they didn't have any for the actual Wambach parcel. So they used ITE, the manual for that, to try to figure out to compare the proposed building with the existing Wambach parcel when it was open. So what they did find was that basically we had 96 fewer PM peak trips with our proposed senior development than the existing Wambach, a facility like Wambach. So it's quite a bit less traffic. Also, they found out, for the entering peak, they had 12 entering peak in the AM hour, so it's not very much traffic at all. So that's the site plan kind of in a nutshell. If you want, we can go on to the building and have Jessica do a presentation on the building and then get questions after that, or we could do the site now and wherever you want.
Does anyone want to ask questions now or hear the building and then come back?
Let's do the building
Okay.
and then.
Okay.
Let's move forward.
I'm Jessica Wade with SWB Architects, and like Andy stated, we are proposing a 3-story wood frame building that contains 80 units. 77 of those units are one-bedroom apartments that are 670 square feet, and then we have 3 two-bedroom units that are around 958 square feet. Each unit has a patio with access to the pedestrian walkway, or a balcony if it's obviously on the second or third floors. Of the total 80 units, 20 of them are fully accessible with grab bars in the bathrooms and at both the toilet and shower or bath, and accessible cabinetry in the kitchens. We also have 4 HVI units for the visually and hearing impaired within the 80 unit count. Within each unit, it's a typical living room, 1 bath, unless it's the 2-bedroom, storage, closet, a bathroom, and then a bedroom, unless it's 2-bedroom. I know one of the questions from the workshop was about condensing units. We actually are using, it's called a Friedrich unit. It's a heating and air conditioning all in one package, similar to a Magic Pack, if you're familiar with that. But these are more energy efficient, so there actually will not be condensing units on the site. They're within a furnace closet, a mechanical closet within each unit. So on the front of the building, or on the exterior of the building, there would only be a grill from those units inside each unit, inside each apartment. On the first floor,
Excuse me, I'm just gonna ask you to grab the microphone if you need to.
Should be on, I think I put it on.
Okay.
You're good.
So there is a drop-off area right in the front of the building. When you enter on the first floor, we have a 2-story lobby area with mail and a central open feature stair to the second floor. There's also 2 public toilets near the 2-story community room, a service provider office and staff office for RMI, and then 2 elevators. One is 3,500 pound, another is a 2,500 pound to service the gurney. I know that was a question from the fire department. And then we also have stackable laundry rooms on each floor, first, second, and third. On the second floor, there is a lounge for the residents, and then also, like I said, the same stacked laundry, and then down the corridors are just units. And then on the third floor, we have a reading lounge, a fitness room, and then a roof deck on the back portion of the building that overlooks the exterior gathering space on the outside of the community room. The exterior of the building, we wanted to go with a craftsman-style apartment building. We used, in the front, we have this blue vinyl lap siding and then this tan board and batten siding with we're using stone mostly as a water table, but wanted to feature more of the stone on the entry to kind of draw people and know that it's the entry of the building. So this isn't the final selection, but something in this color family. And then we're also using a colored fiber cement trim just to kind of blend in with the surrounding tree buffer and not have something, you know, white so stark popping out in the surrounding site. So I think that's it.
Okay. Anything else to present?
Not at this time. Any questions you have, we can answer.
With that, I'll open it up for questions. Mr. Huber?
Did you bring a sample of the grass paver mechanism that you were going to use?
I have not yet.
Okay.
I apologize. We haven't actually selected a product yet. We're in the
I'm really
process of
interested
looking
to
at a
see
couple
what
different
this is
ones.
going to be. Yeah, and I just wanted to come. I think that this is really a robust landscaping plan. I really, you know, looked at each of those plants. I really think that it looks great. I do have, and you basically everything that we asked about at workshop you addressed. You extended the sidewalk, you put the grills in the windows. I want to really draw attention to that and thank you for that time and effort. The other question I have is about the E-Pod. So that's the part where that's the worry that I have. And I'm wondering how you're planning to mitigate any environmental impact from the building in the E-Pod.
The building, it may show that it's in an E-Pod steep slope per the mapping, but per our grading that we received, it really is not. So we're pushing the building as far south as we can to stay out of that steep slope to the north. Is that what you mean?
About the woodlot one.
The woodlots, yeah, I guess it is woodlotted, so there's woods there. We're gonna try to maintain as much of the natural vegetation to the south as we can, maintaining the grading up tight to the building and the parking. I think that's probably all we're proposing at the moment.
Yeah, that's the area that I have worry about.
I'd like to jump on that same
Okay.
comment for just a second if I can, and I have a question for staff. So if I look at especially the woodlot overlay I'm looking at drawing C100 right now. The kind of gray hatched area is the woodlot overlay. However, if I went out to the site, I know this site fairly well, and if I also look at their aerial photo that they've provided here, a good portion of what is called out as woodlot per historic town mapping is not really woodlot. So how do we address that?
So in the, couple of things. One is, the mapping dates back to the late 80s. With the advent of GIS, sometimes the coverage is, can be projected slightly off. And so the mapping is intended primarily to identify swaths or areas where the environmental sensitive condition might be existing, but field check is required to ensure so that in instances where the outline of the map is showing that the condition is present, if field investigation demonstrates that that's not actually the case on the site, then this board can take that into consideration and say, you know, the Environmental Protection Overlay District is intended to identify areas where a harder look needs to be taken to ensure that development isn't going to impact negatively environmentally sensitive features, but if the environmental sensitive feature isn't located in that exact perimeter or that area, then you have the ability to grant approval, recognizing that the conditions either have changed since the mapping was first done, or the mapping may just be projected slightly off.
And is that something the Conservation Board can advise us on?
So this will be reviewed, this is slated to be reviewed at the
January 8th
January, yeah, the Conservation Board's January meeting, and certainly they would be looking at that and can provide that feedback to you as well.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Huber.
Would it be possible to stake out the rough location of the building so that when we
absolutely.
visit the site, we can see whether or not, in fact, there are any trees there? That
Yeah,
would really
absolutely.
be helpful.
You could do all four corners of the building in
Yeah,
the
I
center.
mean, it doesn't have to be exact, just a general idea of,
Okay.
that would be helpful.
Yeah, we can
And
do
it may
that
not
pretty
even
easily.
be an issue. Other than that, yeah, that's the thing. And then I'm just really kind of wondering, I know the fire department is too, and I want to see what this materials, because I really appreciate the fact that you're not trying to pave more than you need to. But I do want to do due diligence on this paver material to make sure that everybody's happy with
Okay,
it.
we'll definitely have it for the next meeting.
Ms. Hollenbeck?
Yeah, Brad answered everything, and everything that was brought up at the other meeting was satisfied with me.
Could you explain to me the heating and air conditioning units again? You said something about a grill will be present.
Yeah,
So
on
is it visible on the front?
They're on the front of the building here, but they're kind of hidden by the balconies fencing or rail. So they're actually, it's a grill. It's down on each side of the patio door, but it's it'll be the same brown color blending in with the trim. So you actually it's kind of disguised behind the rail.
Thank you. Which one is that? 201?
Yeah.
Thank you.
But we would either, most likely what we would do is match the adjacent siding so it would blend in with each color. So obviously if it's occurring in this tan, it would probably be the tan, and then the blue, we would match that. So it's as hidden as possible, but because it's behind that rail, we're hoping that they don't really stand out that much. But we felt that was better than having 80 condensing units on the site. So we really didn't want to do that, and we kind of did our research to put it within each unit and not have to have 80 units on the site. So it's we've done these on a few projects, and they are energy efficient, so we're hoping to use those on this as well.
That was my question. Mr. Richards?
Sure. I'm going to ask about the traffic study again, just because I'm concerned. I don't know what the existing conditions are. I don't think you can explain to me what the existing conditions are. I can tell you the existing conditions that exist for me every morning at 7:15 as I'm heading south,
Absolutely. Yep.
and every morning or every evening at 5 o'clock when I'm heading north. And I sit through 3 or 4 lights. I'm wondering, and I understand that you're not adding a whole lot compared to what was there. I also don't believe that what was there takes in Wambox as a garden store. I bet it probably has Lowe's more in mind as a garden store.
Yeah, it's, I'm not sure the definition in the IT.
Right.
I guess I could look, but.
I'm more curious as to what's going on with traffic there. It's a.
So it's the
my guess
existing
when
condition.
Wambox was built, 104 was not there.
Oh, yeah, sure, yep.
So, I know that was a concern for the neighborhood, and,
But the existing traffic is the existing traffic, and
I get
knowing
it.
what that number is, we still are only adding 12 peak trips during the AM peak hour. So you want to know exactly what the number is for
I
the
would like
existing?
to know what the current conditions are would be helpful.
When we talked to Monroe County DOT,
They couldn't provide that information.
well, they may have been able to, but they told us we didn't need to do a full-fledged traffic study and that this memo would be enough for them because of the low trips that this facility is providing or is causing. So we stopped. We didn't do a full-fledged traffic study. If the board really wants us to study that, then we'd have to have RMI see if they really want to have
I
SRF
would like
look into
to ask you to get, if the county has the information, to go ahead and get us that information.
Do you
I'm
just
not
want to
sure
know
that
the average daily trips? Is that what you're looking for? Okay.
what's
Would that-
going on that
I could definitely
part.
get the average daily trips.
All right.
That's an easy thing.
Well, I'll just jump. I don't necessarily agree that a full-fledged traffic study needs to be done. I do agree that the definition would be helpful because they can range, and I think that would be helpful for sure, of whatever category you use to put Wambox underneath.
Okay. So we can do, we'll get the 80 the average daily trips in front of on Culver Road. And then we'll see what the definition is for that.
Can somebody tell me what part that rooftop deck is going on? Is it on the north elevation? Is it on the south elevation?
the
I
back
just
side.
heard it described as on the back. I don't know what that
Do you have
means.
the, oh, actually, use this. So it's on the, obviously the third story, but it's right here on the third story on the back portion of the building
So
overlooking.
it would be on the north elevation?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So it's overlooking that gathering space. It's over the two-story community room.
And are there any grates on the windows in the center section?
No, we wanted to leave the center section as a different focal point than the units, so we put all the muntins where the units take place, and then we left the fixed, it's a storefront look, but we're going to use a vinyl fixed window. We left those as is because we want people to be directed towards the entry and not have it blend as much in with the units. So we did all the muntins on where there's units, and then we kept,
But it's still a residential unit, right? I mean, I understand that that's not residential right there.
Yeah,
It's
this is
being
all
used for some
common-
other function on the
common
inside.
areas. Yep.
I'm talking about what it reflects to me and to the neighbors.
I mean, that's something we
I
can
think-
definitely look at. For now, we left it because we see with some residents, they like to have a focal point to know where entry and exit is. So typically
I
when
think
we,
the awnings are a pretty good focal point.
no, that's something we can definitely add in.
Okay, I would like to take a look at those.
Okay.
Can somebody tell me the lifespan on the vinyl siding that you guys are looking at? Is it 20 years? Is it 5 years? Is it a half hour?
I honestly would have to look that up for you.
I would like to know that
Okay.
information.
You say light span?
Yeah, how long that vinyl siding's gonna last.
Okay.
And are there plans for any trails in or out through any of the areas that are beyond the reach, especially to the north for the residents to use?
None more than what we show on the plan. We weren't having anybody venture into those steep slopes or anything. Is that what you mean? I'm not, I guess maybe, I don't know what the,
That's, yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Is there any
there was,
accessibility to the property aside from what you guys want to pave?
we weren't gonna propose any, no.
Okay. The access road issue with the county, has that been taken care of?
As far as we know, the county is amendable to us connecting south of Brookdale.
Brookdale.
We can't be directly across from Brookdale.
Right.
They want us to be south of Brookdale. So that's what we've shown now. There's an existing driveway there today for the Wambach parcel. It will be just slightly north of that driveway. So we'll have to take that curb cut out and push ours a little bit north just to
Okay.
make it fit.
And you're still working on that, but any
So far, the
people
county's
could
been
be
amenable.
conditioned on that. Great. There was mention of 37 or 38 frail senior apartments in there. Does that correspond with the accessible apartments that you're putting in?
Can you say that question again? I'm sorry.
We were told at workshop, I believe, that there were 37 or 30, I have 38 in my notes, and that could be absolutely wrong.
No, that's correct. And just to explain what those,
Sorry, can you
Excuse
please
me.
identify yourself?
Just for
sorry,
the
Peggy
record.
Hill with Rochester Management. Those units are folks that just need help with some daily living functions. It could be help with setting up their medications during the day. It could be help with preparing meals and so forth. So they're still living independently, but they are defined as someone that will benefit from the resources that Rochester Regional will provide. Rochester Regional will have two folks there Monday through Friday full-time, one to evaluate needs, and especially as people change over time. And then the other person will be there to connect them with linkages for service too in the community.
I guess my real question, though, deals with the apartments with the hand grips. Mm-hmm. I thought I heard that there were going to be 20 of those. Does that correspond with the need? I realize it's probably meets code.
It does, and I think all the units will have the grab bars in the bathrooms. That's typically what we do for all senior units everywhere.
So the 38 people will be covered within that 20, whatever you said.
So 20 are fully accessible with all grab bars and the cabinetry and the countertop are lower to accommodate someone in a wheelchair.
Right.
All the units, I misspoke, all of the units have grab bars. every single unit has grab bars, but they might have, the higher countertops, so they're not fully accessible for a wheelchair. 20 are fully, they can be converted if it's needed at a later point, but 20 are fully accessible with edited lower cabinetry and countertops and the grab bars, and then all the remaining 60 have just the grab bars in the bathrooms. They don't have the changed kitchen cabinetry.
But they have the turning radiuses.
Yes, everything has the turning radius is built in.
So
But
you're
yes.
prepared for that,
Yes, yeah.
When they need it, we can easily convert it.
so they won't have to leave their apartment.
Right. The
You
whole
can convert, okay, that unit.
purpose is
all
to
right.
let them age in place, so.
Okay, that answered that part of the question. I guess I've got some questions on the lighting plan and some of the spillage, especially going down toward Culver Road. I haven't had a real good chance to look at all this since
Yeah,
when I walked in here at 7, that's when I saw
okay.
the new plans, but it seems like there's some brightness going on.
I can have
south
them,
side.
it seems like they stopped it a little short of the property line too, so I can have them extend that further past the property line so we can make sure we're getting the right numbers. Our goal is to have no, obviously zero spillage off-site. They were supposed to put on some shielding too, so, we can make sure they do that as well to mitigate that. The other option to do would be to put all the lighting on the north side of the road. Right now, it's kind of alternating north-south. We might be able to help mitigate that by,
How tall are the light poles down the access road?
they're 22 feet mounted height.
Would there be an ability to consider doing something more pedestrian scale? I know when you go to a decorative lighting fixture, you lose a little bit of control, but maybe something that's less tall and maybe more pedestrian scale.
Absolutely, we can look at
Something
that.
that looked a little more like the intent of the muck over in the Titus Cooper area.
Okay. Okay, we can look
And
at
it
that.
just will look more like a neighborhood to the folks that would be to the south
Probably
of
more
your property.
14 footish or so, something like that. Okay, yeah, we can look at
And
that.
also, we always get stuck. Sometimes they say 14 foot, and then they put them on a
3-foot
like
base.
3 foot cement pedestal. So none of that.
Mounted height, that's the word, mounted height.
Mounted height. Oh, I gotta add that.
And just because I haven't looked real closely and I don't want to take up a lot of your time, the situation for the refuge,
Oh, yes,
doing
the
with that?
dumpster.
yeah,
The dumpster. The dumpster enclosure is here. So we have we have an enclosure that's made out of, masonry to match the building. And it'll have a fence gate on the front of it. And there'll be 2 dumpsters inside it, and it's right in this location.
and that should adequately support everything that you need serviced
Correct.
within the building.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And the bollard plan is in here, I'm assuming?
The proposed bollards, yes,
Okay.
with the light on.
I
the
just,
light on.
that's another thing I haven't gotten to. And the only other note that I put on here is water service still an outstanding issue?
Yeah, we're still working on running the model to see it. The fire department has asked us to loop our system to both Halda and Carl's Sam. That's quite a bit of an expense for the applicant to do that. So we wanted to see if it's in fact something we actually need for the building, to make that work or not, and we were gonna present that to the fire department and see if.
Okay, I saw
what
that
they
that
think.
was one of the
So
questions
it's
on
one,
there.
it's an outstanding issue that we're still working on.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else have any other? Mr. Reed?
I'll take a shot at it.
Sure.
There can't be anything left.
First, I would just like to thank the applicant on listening to us and adding some of the sidewalks and,
Oh, yeah.
and pedestrian access that we requested. I appreciate that. There was a question, I believe, in the Labella letter about an area that sheet drained across a
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Yes.
Has there been any further design or
We-
thought behind that?
Yeah, I think Labella was responding to that first set of plans that we went over at the workshop. So since that meeting, we changed, we relocated the sidewalk.
Okay.
So now the sidewalk's on this side of the street
Perfect.
here. So now all this sheet drains into the bioretention, which is here.
Okay,
So it won't sheet flow across the sidewalk.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you. At workshop, we talked that a bunch of the walking paths and the sidewalks, if you will, up to some of the patios were kind of a stone cinder. That's still the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And I guess my only question at the moment, I also want to get a little more time with the traffic study, but is roofing material is just an asphalt shingle? Is that, okay? Okay, I'm good for right now.
I just have one other question. Is there any plans, is this only gonna be a residential facility, or will it be a day facility for elders that'll be brought in? Is there any?
Nope, it's just for residents only, no daycare facility, and just for the people that are living there full-time.
So in that circle area, you don't see like a bunch of buses lining up to drop people off and so
No,
forth?
no.
Okay.
Oh, I do have one other question. We discussed some contact with RGRTA. Has that been done?
No, it's still in process, but we know it's on our list.
Okay, so that's an outstanding issue for this board. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Huber?
Just following up on Mr. Richards' comments about the windows in the center, I agree. I don't think that I necessarily want to see the continuation of the 6/6 in the center, but I do hear what he's saying about the blank look. So I don't come to these meetings without a binder full of examples. So I'm wondering if you might consider like a prairie style,
Okay.
which is a wider. I can show you the example, but I think that might be giving you the differentiation that you're looking for without having the storefront look.
Yeah, we definitely want to have it be its own item and not blend in as much, but we can
I
have
totally
it
hear what you're
match
saying.
the
Yep.
style. Yep.
Yeah, I would support that. I
Yep.
think having that in the top third of the window especially would help blend it, but then would still give you the visual that you're looking for.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Any other questions?
Good right now.
Okay, at this point, if you could take a seat.
Thank you.
So prior to opening up the public hearing, I just want to remind everybody, if you could please try to keep your comments limited to 5 minutes, and Michelle, I'll ask you to try to keep track of that as we go through. In addition, everybody please collect your thoughts. I ask that you come up to the podium just once tonight for this public hearing. So with that, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Anybody who would like to talk about this, please come to the podium. You don't have to raise your hand, just, please.
Make sure they identify themselves.
Yeah, please identify yourself.
Good evening.
One other thing, please make sure all comments are addressed to the board.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
good evening, members of the board. My name is Bob Finocchio. I live at 303 Carl Sam Drive, which butts right up against there. And if you look at the map, well, shoot. This is my swimming pool. This is my driveway. And they want to put a gate right here, right on my driveway. My wife will bang it every day. They don't need a key because it'll be open. There's no way that this is going to work. There's no way. But let's get to here. First of all, I don't know how the town board approved this project to be a R5. This is all residential. Carl Sam Drive, Whitlock Road, this is all residential. We submitted over 300 names of residents who did not want this project in that area. It's an R1, it was an R1 residential area. We invited all the town board to come down and look at it and take a walk with us and show it to them. John Perdigo came, he was the only one, he's the only one who voted against it. I don't understand how the project on Densmore Road and the legacy on Titus Avenue got voted down when there's not even as many residents there as there is at this project. It's highly residential. This project does not fit this area. 3 stories. You know what's 3 stories? Town Hall. When you leave here tonight, look at Town Hall. It's 3 stories. Densmore School is 2 stories. The Legacy is 2 stories. Everything around is 2 stories. It doesn't fit the area. It's just too big. I wish everybody on the town planning board would come down there and take a look. Carl Sam Drive, come there, not Culver Road. With 20 acres of Wambach land available, I can't see how they chose to come way in the back, 1,400 to 1,500 feet off Culver Road to get to this project. Doesn't make sense to me, especially when there's 20 acres of land there. Why don't they buy the north side or of the property, split that off, put it against more by the expressway when you're not bothering residents? This is right in the residential area. It's crazy. The backside should be used for different uses, that back 6 acres. Or it should be sold all as one. We don't, in fact, we don't need another low-income housing project for seniors. I'm a senior. I don't need that project. We have approximately five, right on Culver Road now. Senior low-income housing. And they keep saying there's a need. There's more of a need for it. We need it. We need it. Well, I signed my brother up last year for the one on Brower Road. They told him there was a waiting list. 60 days he got in. So I don't think there's that much of a need for another project, especially when Pathstone is putting one in the mall. How many of these are we going to have on Culver Road? Plus, they keep saying Arundequite needs senior housing. This is not for Arundequite. This is low-income senior housing for New York State. Anybody can go there. City, Greece, anywhere can go there. So unless they checked, the town checked to see how many residents of Arundequite live in these senior apartments now, I don't think we need this. I really don't. Okay. And the area they want to put this in, if you look at Rochester management and what they manage now, it's all their Webster locations are all on main roads, big lot of land around, Hard Road, Holt Road, all their projects are on big pieces of land. This is a small little residential place. There's not, it's not right for there. And the value of all these houses that are around here, all this street here, they want to open this street up?
Sir, you need to use a microphone.
Thank you very much.
Yep. You can't open this street up for pedestrians to come down. It's fine for pedestrians to come down here. But like I say, it's too close. And they have to put it here because there's no other place on this 6 acres that Wambach wants them to take to move this building. As they told you, there's all steep hills down here and that. And 3 stories, you know what that's going to look like there? The lighting, we're going to have all lights all around here. All Whitlock Road, all the way down. A road coming down here. And they're talking about the traffic pattern. Do they ever talk about what's going to go in the next 14 acres? You're going to need roads for those 14 acres too. Whoever's going to come here is going to need roads to get there. More traffic there. So it's not just the one parcel. You got another 14 acres here to worry about. I thought they should have, before they rezoned it, they should have found out what's going here. They did this a little backwards, I think. So these are my thoughts, and I'm sure we have more thoughts now. But 3 stories would be against. You're going to have a lot of houses for sale and a lot of mad residents. 300 names, they didn't even look at them. They have them, but 300 names. How many were for this project? None. Not one person came up for this project. So think about it. I mean, it's in your hands, so you guys got to think about this before you go and do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for me? Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You sure you got it all covered?
Not really.
Okay,
I can go on and on, but I won't.
thank you.
Good evening, my name is Mark Thomas, I'm a captain with the Ridge Culver Fire Department. Captain Quinlan is with me. I have more than 5 minutes of notes, but I'll highlight some notes here. Also, Michelle, if you want me to, I can forward these to you, if you want to distribute them to everybody.
Please,
Um,
that'd be great.
Is this what we already received, or is this new notes?
It might be.
12-12?
12/12/2019?
12/12?
Okay.
Yeah, we all received those.
Okay.
so you know.
I appreciate The architect's addressing the accessibility.
Thank you.
Yep. The accessibility around here. A fire access lane, I know they want to do the pavers. 4 months out of the year, that's going to be useless because it will not be maintained. This will never get plowed. Plowing, if you're operating a snow plow, where are you going to push the snow? I'm going to put it right here. That's a nice place to put it. This works. I'm sorry, I do like the gate. The gate would come in, but instead of that green space, I know the green space is a big deal. You spent the money on the underlayment. It'd be better off as a road. Keep it gated, but keep it as a road. Our accessibility back here, you're bringing the water in here. I'll get to that in a second. Our primary source of water, there is no primary source of water approaching this building. If you look at the plans, water's coming off of Carl Sam. They put a yard hydrant here. The main goes into the building, and then they put a hydrant out front. The hydrant out front is after the sprinkler system. That's pointless. It's absolutely pointless.
The other issue with the green space,
We just need the microphone, thank you.
Just identify yourself.
Captain Quinlan with the Ridge Culver Fire Department. One of the other problems with this green type roadway, even if you get 1 inch of snow on the ground, it's not clearly marked. There's no curbs, if you will, for the operator of the fire apparatus to follow. So although this may be designed to carry weight, if my guys are off by just a little bit, I'm putting an 80,000 pound fire truck in the mud. It's not doing anybody any good now. See what we're saying? Does that kind of clear it up for you a little bit?
That's the road part. Probably the biggest thing for us is the water. They're bringing the water off of Carl Sam Drive. Carl Sam circles on the Water Authority maps are labeled 8 inch. However, Carl Sam Drive is labeled 6 inch. So you're feeding 8 inch main with a 6 inch main. So it's, but it's a dead end hydrant. As I stated earlier, the hydrant comes in off of Carl Sam to a private yard hydrant through the backflow preventer to the meter to the sprinkler system. Now the hydrant that we're supposed to supply the sprinkler system is after the sprinkler system. It doesn't fit well.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't flow well. Our suggestion.
Just because I don't know, what's a dead end main?
So a dead end hydrant is here's your pipe coming in.
Right?
Here's your hydrant at the end. There's nothing past here to feed water this way.
Most of the water
Okay.
mains are laid out in a
Yeah,
grid
in a-
network,
yeah.
so they feed from two ends.
I
Yeah.
just didn't know what.
Yeah,
that
you have tertiary hydrants feeding into it. This is just at the end of Carl Sam, and that's it. And there's no, what you got coming in is it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So our suggestion is either a mid-driveway hydrant coming off of Culver Road. That's probably more expensive than looping it to Hulda. Culver Road is a 12-inch main, but it's also it's about 1,300 feet from Culver Road to this property. We carry 1,000 foot of hose.
Per truck. And it gets-
We cannot utilize the hydrant they propose here as a primary hydrant or the one in the loop, which is in the collapse zone of the building. Seconds are precious on new buildings. Flashover occurs, which is everything in the room on fire on a new building in 4 minutes. Old legacy construction was 15 to 20 minutes. We don't have that time today with modern construction. You need to get water on it in a hurry. So we suggest a mid hydrant coming off of Culver, or loop Carl Sam over to Hulda Park. It is NFPA 13R sprinklered. We'd prefer NFPA 13, but I'm sure that's an expense, but it's definitely would be a want. But one thing that building does not have are standpipes. They're not required, but based on the size of the building and the way it's laid out, standpipes at least on the wings would be, each wing is about 200 feet long. You know, if there's a fire in this building, you know it's going to be on the 3rd floor. So it's going to be the farthest away.
Never an easy place.
Like I said, the building is sprinklered, it'll hold a fire in check, but it will not extinguish a fire. Have we done a fire flow on any of the mains in that area? I think that was something that they were working on. There is no central stair tower on the third floor. If you look at the plans, there's a stair tower. There's a stair tower on each end of each wing, here and here. In the center, there's a stair tower to the second floor, and then it ends. So any residents in this area here, from an evacuation standpoint, is difficult at best. Our tactic on a building like this is going to be shelter in place. That's why we asked for the water supply for fire control. You're going to have 90 units of, older residents that have a difficult time moving. Mobility issues. I mean, you have a third of them that are ADA compliant. So our tactic in a fire in this building is going to be to shelter in place. So we need the best possible combination to help us. Our minimum staffing is 3 career staff on during the day. We have volunteers that show up. We have St. Paul. We have mutual aid coming. But that initial assignment is going to be, at the worst possibility, is going to be 3 firemen. 1 at the truck, 2 guys to go inside.
To move 80-some people.
It's just looking at the plans as far as firewalls, smoke walls. Oh, I don't know what they're classified. The plans weren't that specific. I forget which one it was.
Just as a clarification, the plans that are being reviewed by the planning board are not construction drawings, they are
Okay.
site plan.
Okay.
And basic floor plans are provided.
Okay.
Code enforcement with respect to fire code, building code is something that happens at the construction drawing stage that,
No, these are site plans.
I'm sorry?
These are basic site plans.
These
that you
are
work-
site plans and general floor plans so that this board has an understanding of where things are in general terms. Those details would be at a construction
Okay.
phase.
Oh, just one point, and I don't want to dwell on it since they're not construction plans, but it did note looked like a firewall in this portion of the building. There's nothing over in this part of the building. So maybe that'll change with the construction plans, I hope. To compartmentalize the building as much as possible is definitely needed. Is there an egress plan for anybody on the outside deck? There's only one way into that deck, which my assumption is it'll probably be an outdoor smoking lounge. Just human nature. They'll be told no, but they're going to do that. I do like the outside finishes with the stone base. One consideration is that is 360 degrees around the building, that there is no vinyl siding that is in contact with any mulch, because that's how these places burn. You get a small, simple mulch fire, contacts the vinyl siding, and it goes up the side of the building. That's why I like seeing the stone, because it usually uses probably a hardy board behind it. But I'm sure there are areas that won't have that. If they're in contact with any mulch, it needs to be basically a non-flammable perimeter around the building. You saw, if you have this list, you have a lot of our concerns, but those are our main concerns. Water, again, I don't know if this is part of your plan, but it's not their responsibility to determine what the rest of the piece of property is going to be. But from a water supply standpoint, there should be some, if you're going to utilize this road, this access road off of Culver Road, or for future development, there should be some hydrants on that road, if you're going to use that. Because we have no primary hydrant coming into the property. I think that's about all we have. Like I said, you have our list. And thank you for your time.
You mentioned the dumpster enclosure.
Yes.
You got a concern with
So,
its current location?
yes, if that is able to be pushed back, if we're gonna utilize this access road to swing a 40-foot ladder truck in here, per the plans, this looks pretty clean here. But on the plans, this dumpster enclosure came out quite a ways. I don't know how far back, what the topography is here in the grade, if that can be pushed back as far as it can. And also, you know, is this actually needed to be gated? Gates are our enemies. They got a gate here. The curbing, again, I understand the green space concept. Looks like they're using primary all square cut concrete curbing. At least it's not granite, but can transitional curbing be used, at least on the hammerheads? We talked about this at length. If we took the hammerhead off, you know what's gonna be parked there is gonna be a car. I'd rather have the hammerhead there and I could cheat a fire truck over a transitional curb and make a corner. This hydrant here that was placed, I believe, is up in this corner. It really needs to be, it really doesn't do us any good after the building anyhow, but it needs to be at least away from the building. Yeah, whether it's here, our ideal, again, water is a loophole to Carl Sam. It's, until a fire flow is done on the building, on that side of the building, you wouldn't know. I mean, let's see. So the attic space, this attic space as drawn to plan, if it was 25% involved, it's gonna take 2,200 gallons a minute. I don't think, you're gonna be hard pressed to get that out of a 6-inch dead in main after the sprinkler system. You'll never get it out there. So, those are our concerns.
Can I ask one,
Yep.
one question on your,
Any questions?
your mulch question, because I
Yes.
know that that's come up before, and I agree that that can be a real issue.
Yep.
Is the fire department amenable to stone mulch in lieu of any wood?
Yeah, if it was a pea gravel
Okay.
or some non-combustible, absolutely.
Okay.
The yearly
Yep.
vegetative mulch, that's
Yep,
just,
I mean, we know the mulch gets
Yeah.
built up year after year, and then it's up to vinyl
Yeah.
siding 6 inches. and
Sure.
We see a lot of those fires actually,
Yes.
so.
yeah.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions for us? Nothing? Okay,
Doesn't look-
thank you for your time, happy holidays.
Thank you.
My name is Thomas Kirchhoff. I'm the chief at Arundecoid Ambulance. And I didn't get a chance to review any changes that were done just recently. Most of my comments come back from July when I first saw some of the building plans. I don't know if they'll be totally for this meeting, so I'll kind of hit on them, and if I have to stop, that's fine. I was a little concerned about the roundabout in the front of the building there. Typically, a lot of these other senior complexes in our community are a large call volume for us. And if we come in there, we have a lot of parking issues. If someone stops in front of this place and parks their car, are we going to be able to get any ambulances or other emergency vehicles around them? We find that usually somebody stops their car, they're going to run in just for a minute, and that's when we show up. Probably about 40% of our calls are just going to get a fire truck on it. So we're going to put a fire truck and an ambulance in that loop pretty quickly. And the way the loop looks there, we're going to have to keep going in a forward direction. We're not going to be able to back out of it if it's clogged. So one of my things was to try and make sure we could pass by any other vehicles there, and that roadway was wide enough for us. I think there was a discussion with the elevator in this building. We usually wind up with small elevators in these buildings, I think, is a second thought. Again, in here, we're going to always take a gurney with us to any second or third floor we're going to go to. The gurney is here about 6 3/4 foot long. That's going to compile all of our gear, a number of bags, probably about 100 pounds in gear, and usually 2 technicians with it. These smaller elevators, you have to take a lot of the stuff off the gurney. You have to put it on the floor and then cram a bunch of people around the corner. So it's kind of really important that we get a relatively decent sized elevator, if at all possible, in this facility. I don't know what the new one looks like in here. That's kind of our big thing. We're always going to be using the elevator up and down. one of the other problems we've developed in some of these other facilities around here is they have residence assistance alarms if they fall in the bathroom, and I'm not sure, I couldn't tell from my original set of plans if there's, these are gonna be in this facility. We have people that would slip and fall or accidentally pull the cord in the bathroom. It transmits an alarm to their alarm company and then generates a medical alarm for us to respond to the facility. So what happens is, if the people really aren't injured or it's an accident, they reset it. We show up at the facility and have no way to determine what apartment in here now has an associated problem. Do we still have a problem? How much more investigation that we do? I hope that at least if they have an alarm system in here, there's a way to latch this into their alarm panel and continue to show that alarm when we show up there, so we can at least just identify that one apartment we need to go or deal with, or that one particular room to go and deal with, and know that there's really nobody injured versus the guess of it's been reset. And do we continue to search for something? Do we key all these rooms? What do we do here to really look for someone that may be injured? And then the other thing we come up with quite a bit at these, again, I'm not sure what their access system is going to be into this building. We'll get a call for a particular address and an apartment number, and you get to the front door and it's locked at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's just resident names on it. And we have the inability to associate the name with the apartment number we're supposed to go to. That's usually a large delay we got. We have to go back over the radio. They usually have to, the 911 dispatcher has to make a call back to the resident if they answer the phone at this point. And that is a large time delay that we see in trying to access our patients in these facilities. So that's about all I have for here. And if I get a chance to review, if I forward any other questions, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Rich Culver and Arundecoit for coming in and enlightening everyone. I know from experience, being a member of a fire department and Arundecoit ambulance, that everything that they're telling you is a true thing. Their job is to make sure everybody's safe, and that's what they're doing tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karen Cagnina, and I live at 370 Carl Sam Drive, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak before you tonight. Neighbors and residents have been and remain adamantly opposed to the rezoning of the back parcel rezoned to R5 and the proposed 3-story subsidized senior apartment complex at the Wambach location. On September 17th, we cited many reasons and concerns in support of our opposition to this rezoning and proposed project. In addition, a number of residents came forward expressing their opposition and presented hundreds of signatures on petitions, and not one resident coming forward in favor of this project has influenced the town board's highly contested decision. Sadly, our elected town officials have ignored our voices and decided, despite all opposition, they voted to approve the rezoning of the Wambach property and possibly approve a 3-story, income-subsidized, 55 and older apartment complex. How does this rezoning and proposed project benefit the town and its residents? As I just mentioned, there has not been one resident that has stepped forward to be heard in favor of this project at any town meeting. We have raised our voices to no avail. Perhaps we've put too much emphasis on how this negatively impacts our neighborhood in the immediate area, and not enough or any emphasis on how this actually negatively affects the entire town of Arundecoit. Arundecoit has changed significantly over the years. Many friends and family have relocated to surrounding towns. Many contemplating a move said they would leave Arundecoit altogether. Premium shopping has closed their doors to our town, and subpar retail has taken over. Restaurants and entertainment has significantly dwindled. All of this and more has left the town with empty buildings, empty parcels of land, and another low-income apartment complex. We pay premium taxes, and what are the town of Arundequoit residents getting for those tax dollars? Another subsidized apartment complex in an extremely heavy traffic area, a stone throw away from a number of other apartment complexes, not to mention another one proposed or possibly already approved complex in the former mall. This is just another example of how far our town will lose another piece of its heart and soul. How do we change this downhill spiral? We feel completely shut out of our own town. What we are trying to do is get involved and preserve what integrity this town has left. We are not opposed to senior living in Arundequoit. We are not opposed to some financial assisted housing. We already have enough of both in Arundequoit. In addition to having enough of this housing, we still maintain that the Wambach property is not a suitable location for this type of project. If I had a senior parent, relative, or friend living at this proposed location, I would be terrified for them to go in and out of that property because of the overwhelming amount of traffic that we all have experienced and dealt with for years in this area. And that traffic and congestion has only worsened. And here we are 2 days before Christmas, and thank you for the postcard that gave us 1 week prior notice to this planning board meeting, when we could have waited until after the holidays to tackle some of this. As you must know, not everyone that would like to be here to be heard is available tonight, with Christmas just 2 days away. This all seems a bit calculated. For the November town board meeting, there was no advance notice, only to find out that this rezoning had already been approved. We feel blindsided by this decision. Again, this seems very calculated, an attempt to silence and override the residents' opposition in favor of possible hidden agendas or the personal gain for this town's leaders, since there has not been any coordinated effort to work with us on these decisions, other than to falsely satisfy and mislead us with permitting us to speak. As with the town board members, the planning board's first obligation should be to residents, not to the developers. We don't need any more low-income housing. We don't need any more low-income anything. Let's raise the bar in the town of Arundequoit. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. Anybody else like to address the board?
My name is Patricia Carroll, and I live at 1136 Whitlock Road in Arundequoit. I've been here each time except the last time when the proposal was approved for the zoning, speaking on behalf of a lot of people in the neighborhood. Myself and many of us have gone and gotten over 300 signatures that oppose this project, because we are in a neighborhood that we want to stay in a neighborhood. We're all families. I've been there for almost 30 years. The people around me, even when someone passes away, you look for their spouse and you take care of them. So this is everything I have written down. Karen said, Bob said, it's, if you knew the community, and I'm sure you all live in a great neighborhood with a good community, if somebody wanted to put an eyesore in your backyard where it stopped you from enjoying the sights in your own neighborhood, where you see everybody, you know everybody, you say hello, and you are just part of a community. This is going to spoil the community. It will take away the homey feeling of where we live. And there's a lot of people in that neighborhood. There's people on Wall, Heberly, obviously Carl, Sam, and Whitlock, and Culver Road there were the people on the other side of the road. And for Wambachs, there was he said there's like 12 cars that are going to come out of this complex. Wambachs was a seasonal place. Not many people went there. I mean, in and out, and there wasn't that much traffic. There is now a lot of traffic. With the expressway, you've got the medical building, you've got people coming and going from Ridge Road to downtown. So I think the traffic alone is terrible. So I'd like to know what happened to all the petition that we had signed with all the people that were against it. And I know you're not the zoning board. They bamboozled us into saying, come and say what you want to say, but they really didn't hear us. They did not hear the residents of Arundequoit. They only did what they wanted to do. They have other aspirations to go on to bigger and better things. So what the decisions they made affected what they want to do, not the residents of Arundequoit. So I just, you know, a lot of people don't sleep at night, and I'm sure all of you do. So thank you, but I hope you take into consideration our community, our home, and where we live. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could try to refrain only for the recording of the meeting, I appreciate it. Thank you. Please.
I just had two questions.
Please identify
Sir,
yourself.
yeah,
and-
thank you for waiting till you get to the podium.
My name's Don Markham. I live at 156 Heberly. I had two questions. There's a rumor that there's a house in the corner of Hulda and Whitlock that has been for sale forever, and then it sold beginning of the summer, and it's been empty, no for sale sign. The rumor was they bought it and are going to use it as part of this project. Is that any truth?
We'll let them address the comments when they come back up.
Can you just repeat what corner you said, sir?
Hulda and Whitlock. There's only two houses, but one's kind of was deserted for the longest time, and then it said sold. And now it's no for sale sign, nobody is in it. And so the rumor is they bought it. And the other thing I was going to ask about, which was already brought up, was the other parcel. What is it going to be used for? And how do you do a traffic study when you don't know what's going to happen there? You know, it's kind of. But that's my two, questions.
Okay.
Already.
Anything else, or is that? No. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else like to address the board? Would the applicant like to respond?
I could just respond first about the other home that was questioned, and we have no part of that sale or whatever's going on with that parcel. We're just working with the parcel that's been identified in the application. And I guess I just want to back up a little bit. I know we covered this with the town board, and we've been in process for this for many months, so I appreciate all the time all the boards have been putting in on this. But really what brought us to this site was just the recognition that we see and hear of waiting lists across the board. We have the waiting lists even in Arundequoit of seniors that need housing. And I know there's been talk about this being low income, but this is 50 to 60% of AMI. And honestly, if you were to look at the population that lives in these sites, they look like the people that are in the room today. It's not scary, strange looking people. They're seniors that need a place that's affordable to live. And all I can say is we are really committed to seeing this through. Our main office is right down the street, so I can assure you the management will nothing will slide by us. We're very picky with our properties. We do have properties that are within neighborhoods as well, so we're accustomed to that. And I know that change is scary and hard, but I know this is something that really should be done, so.
I'm sorry, could you say where your office is again?
Our main office is right at 249 Norton Village Lane. It's about a mile away from the site.
Thank you.
In reference to the fire department comments and ambulance comments, we've addressed some of those comments in the letter that we gave you guys with our application. There's still the water issue. Yes, we need to study that, and we'll work with those folks to get all those comments addressed. That's our goal.
Any comments about the fire hydrants and so forth? Or
Yeah, like I said,
tying it all together.
we'll work on all those and make sure we get all those comments addressed. We don't want to leave any of those. We want the people safe as well. So yes,
And
absolutely.
what about the foundation, either stone mulch or regular mulch?
We could look at using stone mulch instead of the good old fashioned bark mulch. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hopeful that you can come up with some type of creative solution for the fire apparatus access that doesn't involve more pavement. So hopefully you can work something out with them that makes them happy, but also doesn't involve more pavement.
Yeah, that would be my goal as well. In terms of, we will be committed to snow plowing those. We need those areas to be free of snow. In terms of access and guiding them and where the edge of the pavement or the edge of the grass paver is, we've proposed reflective markers, and they're on the site plan right now. So that's one of the comments we addressed. But yeah, we definitely want to make sure we address every single one of those.
And what about the comments about the firewalls and?
Yeah, that's for Jessica.
I mean, honestly, Mr. Chairman, that's a building, if they even get approval here and get their zoning approvals, that's a building department issue. We have no,
I just would like to hear what they had to say for the public.
We
'cause-
already have a 2-hour firewall in the building. I believe it's right here on the plan. If I had them out, but we do have one. So even the question came up about a third center stair. When you have a 2-hour firewall, both of those buildings act as separate buildings. So there's a horizontal where the firewall is located. Oh, sorry, right over here. This counts as one means of egress, and this stair counts as the second. So this central stair isn't required to be another stair tower because there are 2 means of egress on each side because when there's a 2-hour firewall, those buildings act individually. So if there were a fire on this side, all of these people could exit through this firewall over to here and then exit out through that stair. Same thing, if there was one here, if this building, I mean, God forbid that ever collapsed and there was that much of a problem, everyone from here would be exiting over to the other side, and it would still be able to stand because of that firewall separation. So we did have one in place, even though it's not required, but we've already, a lot of the questions that came up, we will address with the fire department. We've already read through them. A lot of them, we can work with them on the sprinkler questions, but a lot of them per code are not required, and we already have looked at them, but they don't have probably the furthest construction documentation yet because we obviously are just at this stage.
So even though it's not required, I imagine you're going to be speaking with them and.
Oh, for
address the
sure. We'll
concerns.
probably meet with them just to go over each item individually. But we have already been looking at it, so.
Thank you. That's why I wanted to ask. Just public heard it. I want to make sure it's getting addressed.
I was just looking through my see what other ones I can address at the moment. I think that's roughly it for now. I mean, in terms of, this parcel was the only parcel that Wambach provided for us to purchase, so we didn't have an option to purchase the western half. So this is where we're going. And I do not know what's going on the remaining parcel, nor does Wambach at the moment, I don't think. I think they're entertaining different uses at the moment and see what could be possible, but they're not ready to show the board or the public what that is yet. So we haven't seen it either.
At workshop, we talked a little bit about signage. I don't remember what we landed on with that. I think maybe you said you would come back.
Yeah, we
I just
probably
wanted
end
to
up
make
coming
sure.
back because we don't have the signage designed at the moment. But yeah, we would need some kind of monument signage out at Culver Road, obviously, with an address.
And that does have to come back.
Yes.
I just want to remind you that almost everybody who came up and spoke to us spoke about traffic.
Yes.
All right,
they did.
thank you.
So I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but other large projects like this, we've actually done site walks. And since they talked about staking it out, and I know weather, it always seems to happen this time of the year. If anybody else would be interested in the site walk, would you be interested in doing that?
Absolutely.
Board?
Yep.
So possibly, Michelle will let you know who might be interested and see if we can get something like that arranged.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get my surveyors out there to stake it out.
But how long would it be before you could stake out the building?
I gotta get with my surveyors who are on vacation this week, so let me
January
ask them
2nd's fine. No, I'm
let
only
me ask them on Monday morning.
we'd all love to be on vacation as well.
No, me too. Right?
I'm just thinking if we could try to do it before the next workshop.
Yeah, that would be good. I agree. So we'll try to get out there as fast as possible.
When does conservation, would we be able to have conservation comments before we do the site walk? That might be, how does that work out in terms of timing?
Eight.
Conservation is meeting on the 8th.
It would just be
January 8th.
helpful to have those comments in pocket when we did the site walk.
And our workshop is the 13th, January 13th.
So it's tight. I don't know. I mean, if it can happen, it can happen. If not,
Yeah, my guess is that it's probably not gonna happen. I mean, that's 5 days to let them meet and then, drop a report for us. And then
Are
have
they
the.
gonna have a
report
report on January 8th, or are they meeting on January 8th?
The meeting is on January 8th. The Conservation Board does currently have all the current documentation, but they don't have a hard copy. So they'll probably review the hard copy at their meeting on the 8th.
So what we might suggest is staff can follow up with the applicant to determine when the site might be able to be marked, and then come up with a game plan from there, if that's okay.
Do what we can. I think the more we do, the better. The other thing is the color copies. I don't believe we have a copy of those. Is that correct?
I do not think we submitted any, no. We can get you some, we can probably leave these, right? Or we could send you with, or we can get you PDF versions.
PDF would be
helpful.
lovely.
Yeah,
We'll get those to you in the morning.
okay. And then for the staff, was there any petitions submitted by the residents to the planning board?
I don't believe that any were submitted to the planning board. The petition reference was related to the application that went to the town board.
So the only questions I had. Anybody else?
The only other thing that I see that's a possible thing we could ask today is, fire department talked about maybe transition curbs on the Hammerhead in
Yep.
the west side of the western parking lot.
Yeah, we could, that's an easy thing to add for us, so we could do that. We did supply a truck turning maneuver that showed it not hitting any of the curbs, but I guess you never know who's driving, so, we can definitely, we can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, it's my understanding that we're still have some outstanding issues regarding this application that we're still waiting for. So we're not going to be taking action tonight. Is that my understanding?
Well, that would be my understanding. I think the applicant would agree. You're
Yes.
probably okay tabling this and.
Absolutely. I think we heard some comments that we need to work on, and we'll make sure we come back with those.
Do we need to take a motion to table?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Richards?
Sure, that we, on the case of PB 1912-1, that we adjourn this issue until the January 27th, 2020 meeting.
And leave the public hearing open.
Yeah, so it will be advertised as and appear on the public hearing list, but indicate that it was held over from this meeting.
Yeah, I didn't close the public hearing.
Correct.
I just clarifying, I know, I just wanted to clarify for the public.
I need a second.
I would second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And 2 are absent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Chair,
We still have a meeting to conduct. If you're gonna have any conversations, please move to the hallway. Thank you. So we can wrap up the meeting.
Mr.
Folks, please move to the hallway. Please move to the hallway. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Richards.
Mr. Chair, in the interest of heading toward a holiday, I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, and 2 absent. They moved. With that,
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas.
And all our faithful viewers at home, have a happy holiday.
Happy holidays to all of you.
thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Planning Board on ICAT Government Access. We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Planning Board on ICAT Government Access.